that recently. It's been freezing a lot. What I want to do is read to you something that I can't believe that I just recently heard about this within like the last week or two. But I've been doing my best to just survive. And here we go. All right. Welcome back to my YouTube channel today. It looks like we're getting a little bit better reception as of right now. Good evening, Zen. Hope you're having a good night. Let's see if we can get this on here. So somebody messaged me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and they were like, hey, you need to check out the second Declaration of Independence that Donald Trump signed on July 4th of 2020. I was like, how did I miss this? But I just found a YouTube video of somebody reading this, and sorry, I'm tired. I had a long, weird day. It's always a long, weird day, but this is really important, and it's absolutely correct. And in this, it literally mentioned targeted individuals. So, like I said, I'm tired. I'm going to do my best to read this. All right. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Cheers. You drink after the days that I had to. With the utmost respect and admiration for the founders of America and the framers of the original Declaration of Independence, the American people humbly emulate their thoughtful, measured response to certain perpetual and ascending tyranny and despotism. Oh, good Lord. I shouldn't be doing this right now. I should do this when I wake up tomorrow, but we too believe it is moral obligation of those privileged with knowledge and opportunity to work on behalf of the people that the people are served best when their benefactors choose unity over division, nationalism over globalism, sovereignty over submission, and liberty over oppression. That all human beings are equal in their innate value, that America was founded under God, and that God-given rights may not be revoked, suspended, negated, or abridged without due process. I didn't receive due process. What distinguishes the Second Declaration of Independence from its progenitor is the object from which we seek independence. Regrettably, to our misfortune, shame, and dismay, and despite the recurrent warnings and accord safeguards, a cabal of foreign investors and privateers have managed to gain possession of our land, our wealth, our labor, our well-being, our future, and even our children. Although history has become muddied with varied interpretations of cardinal events, including the surreptitious adoption of a second corporate constitution and uncertain ratification of several amendments destructive to the people, it matters only that on more alien groups lay claim to American and its assets. rather than speculate on motives and weigh unprofitably to biased accounts, unverifiable information, and plenteous theories and opinions, we engage a perfect solution wherein exact independence from all claimants, past and present, proclaimed, identified, or veiled as such, the usurpers named in this declaration and representative and not specific or exhaustive, regardless of supposed ancestry, preceded instrument or process. Although simply enumerating transgressions and usurpations would suffice to justify insularity, recounting significant events reveals important facts that are missing from history. These forgotten facts add insight, perspective, and clarity, illuminating our best way forward. Okay, number one. This is number one of the Declaration of Independence. Part two, second Declaration of Independence, signed on July 4th of 2020. All right, one, the inevitable Civil War destroyed America's economy, ripped families apart, and cast questionable shadow on the future of a once promising nation. America was, hold on. There we go. That's better. I should start this over like that so I don't look like. Anyway, number one, the inevitable Civil War destroyed America's economy, ripped families apart, and cast questionable shadow on the future of a once promising nation. America was in trouble financially and needed a massive infusion of capital to get back to its feet. Stay with me if you're a targeted individual. They literally use the term targeted individuals in the second Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. I could not believe when I heard that. Willis was pretty excited about it too. As I'm reading this, there will be people, hey Gina, how you doing? There will be people and noises around here trying to cause distraction. They do not like me doing this. Hear the dogs? It was nice and quiet before I started this. Number two, a cabal of nation-building venture capitals from Europe. There goes the cars. A cabal of nation-building venture capitals from Europe agreed to finance America's recovery, but demanding an active role in government to ensure their investment. In 1871, mired in debt, Congress worked out a partnership. So that's the Virginia Company, I believe, in 1871. In exchange for boundless financial support, the foreign investors handled America's administrative needs. Foreign investors. Number three, although initially it seemed to be an innocuous concession, the consequences of allowing the nation-building venture capitalists to conduct America's business beyond the protections of the U.S. Constitution provide catastrophic. The investors quickly embedded operations throughout the foreign-owned corporate government, and Washington, D.C. began serving the interests of America's financiers over the people, in all caps. In 1871, America effectively lost its independence, and the nation-building venture capitalists became our new masters. 4. The nation-building venture capitalists worked to soften America's impenetrable, elevated system of government. The founders had formed a constitutional republic instead of a democracy, specifically to prevent citizens in the majority from oppressing those in the minority by doing what is best for their district or state. Rather than enforce the majority will, representatives serve all citizens equally, eliminating the noise, division, and violence intrinsic to democracies. Being in control of the narrative, the foreign investors' ingenious promoted the fallacy that America is a democracy, trusting that the deception would lead to unrest and chaos that would make America vulnerable, creating additional opportunities for inflation and manipulation. 6, if you're just logging in here, this is the second Declaration of Independence signed by President Trump on July 4th of 2020. I just heard about this recently, and I decided to do a live and read this. I'll probably do another one like tomorrow so I can read this a little bit better when I'm not as tired. Well, I might be, but who knows. Anyway, in 1913, the foreign investors established the Anti-Defamation League to slander anyone who exposed them and their infiltration into American politics. There go the sirens. In 1913, by the way of the 16th Amendment, the foreign investors were granted the authority to tax the American people directly, something expressly prohibited by the original Constitution. That the people would willingly subject themselves to forced confiscation of their property, their labor, is illogical. Putting in, their property in anyway, their labor is illogical, putting the legitimacy of ratification in question. Okay, number 8. In 1913, by way of the 17th Amendment, the foreign investors breached an important safeguard that protected our Constitution Republic from infiltration of enemy forces. Previously, senators were statesmen appointed by the respective state legislators as a check on the House of Representatives, raiding the public treasury henceforth. Senators would run as glorified House representatives, reducing to promising free public money and services for votes. The authenticity of ratification is unlikely because the state legislators would not willingly surrender their authority to bridle the appetite of the people's House. Not would they accede to transfer more power to the federal government, opening yet another door for the international bankers to buy the influence they need to further their grip on America. Number 9. In 1913, so that was 1913 Mackinac Island, wasn't it? They had that meeting and came up with all of this. In 1913, the foreign investors gained control of our currency by pushing through Congress the Federal Reserve Act. Yeah, there we go, Mackinac Island. Establishing a foreign-owned central banking system, despite dire warnings of Presidents Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, and William McKinley. The Federal Reserve Act passed with the help of compromised legislators between 1:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. That's always happens. What happened in the last election? All of a sudden, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're like, oh, we got like a bazillion votes. So they do that when everybody's asleep. On December 22nd, when most members were away on Christmas holiday. In 1920, Congress, by the way of the, we're at number 10 now. In 1920, Congress, by the way of the Independent Treasury Act, turned over the U.S. Treasury Department and its assets, our gold and silver, to the Federal Reserve, the central banking system owned by the foreign investors established in 1913. In 1921, the Council on Foreign Relations, that's the CFR, you've probably heard of them, was formed under cover advancing America's interests in the world. In fact, the CFR is sponsored by the City of London and serves to advance the interests of the foreign-owned Federal Reserve by direction of the President, Congress, and the narrative through operatives in their news and information networks. CNN, CIA, same thing. Number 12. In 1925, the owners of the Federal Reserve formed the United States Corporation. Just 5 out of the 100 shares issued were identified with balance of the shareholders of U.S. Corp, remaining anonymous. Yet, the money hail leads to the City of London, the British Crown, and the Vatican, the city-states. Doesn't say that in here, I said that, city-states. The tax dollars we send to the Internal Revenue Service go to the Internal Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which are under their control. 13. My mom worked for the IRS. She quit talking to me a while ago. We can't, anyway. Number 13, the official formation of the U.S. Corp set the stage for the transformation of America from a constitutional republic, which we are supposed to be, of the people, to a corporation owned by foreign interests and their families. Over the next few years, the individual states were registered as corporations as well, making them franchises of U.S. Corp. Representatives and senators neither represent nor work for the American people. Rather, they are managers of the U.S. Corp. And such, they are obligated first to serve its best interest. The president is just the president of America. He is the CEO of the U.S. Corp. If you're just joining in, I'm reading the Second Declaration of Independence, signed by Donald Trump on July 4th, 2020. This is very important. They literally use the term targeted individuals in the Second Declaration of Independence. Oh, I'm sorry, it's been a long road, folks. Get a little emotional reading this. Number 14. The abbreviated term United States was purposely used to represent both United States. Was purposely, it says United State. I wonder if that's a typo or what. Anyway, was purposely used to represent both America and U.S. Corp. To blur the distinction between them. Similarly, the U.S. Constitution was quietly supplanted, I've never heard that word, supplanted by an imposter corporate all caps letters Constitution that bears a similar name and appearance, again, to confuse and deceive the American people. Specifically, the Constitution for the United States of America was replaced by the Constitution of the United States, in all caps, with the latter's corporate statutes becoming the supreme law of America. 15. In 1933, let's see, 33, that's when President Truman was the president. Hold on. 33, Truman, federal bankruptcy, I thought Truman was the president in 1933. Anyway, I'll just keep reading. 1933, the U.S. federal government declared bankruptcy, and President Roosevelt, its acting CEO, okay, that's Roosevelt, signed over to, President Roosevelt, its acting CEO, signed over to U.S. Corp. America and its assets, including the people, so like all of us in all caps in our social security numbers, and our labor. The bankruptcy of 1933 that was arguably unnecessary, ceremonial in nature, and contrived and orchestrated without the consent of the people, completed the heist and transfer of America and its assets to the same foreign interests who own U.S. Corp. 16. In the bankruptcy of 1933, U.S. Corp forced the American people to surrender their gold in trade for debt notes called dollars. They literally made, if you had gold, you had to turn in your gold, and that you had no, if you got caught not turning it in, wasn't good. So anyway, fiat currency that was not real value and that is depreciated continually through inflation to where it is worth just 4 cents today. The bankrupt, that was in 2020. 17, the bankruptcy of 1933 put U.S. Corp in a state of emergency, allowing to implement admiralty law, that's the law of water, maritime law, the flag with the gold fringe around it. The real flag doesn't have that gold fringe. Made evident by the gold fringe around the American flag. When a citizen of America, yeah, a dead man, you're boarding their boat, the Jolly Roger. then they make you walk the plank. You have no rights. Been there, done that. Number 18, in 1936, U.S. Corp began issuing Social Security numbers to turn otherwise sovereign Americans into trustees of corporate fictions, making our labor taxable, which would otherwise be unconstitutional. According to U.S. Corp, you are not a live man or woman, but rather a representation of a corporation in your name. 19. In 1945, the anonymous owners of U.S. Corp founded the United Nations. Huh. Yeah, they think they're going to come here and, yeah, they better not go through the South. Anyway, founded the United Nations under the guise of spreading peace, civility, and humanitarian assistance throughout the world. Yet the true purpose is to condition citizens to recognize an international authority, a first step in establishing their promised New World Order, in which U.S. Constitution is retired to make room for universal totalitarian government. You guys can't let that do not let that happen. United Nations publications Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 reveal the New World Order agenda, calling for the end of nationalism, patriotism, private property, individual rights, the two-parent family, automobiles, air travel, and the right to defend ourselves from our tyrannical government. In keeping with their goal of sustainable development, they plan to reduce the population by over 90%, ridding America and the world of dissidents and useless eaters. The remaining useful servants are to live in coastal communities where they will be stacked and packed into micro apartments. So like you've lived in an apartment before probably. Portland, Oregon just signed the first permit for micro apartments. Imagine that. Portland, Oregon, the home base of BLM and Antifa. All right, so anyway, number 21. The only thing standing in the way of their New World Order is a strong, prosperous, and secure America. To achieve their world goal of domination, America must lose its sovereignty and leadership position, and thus why the owners of U.S. Corp quietly work to undermine our culture, systems, beliefs, standards, aspiration, and morals for over 100 years, employing unrestrained method and tactics. So method and tactics. So that's like when the CIA and the FBI, current, all of them, they talk about practices and procedures. That right there, methods and tactics. That's Chuck Schumer talking about 6 ways from Sunday. You know, you mess with the intel community and they've got 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. I've unfortunately experienced all of those, and it's more like 60 ways from Sunday. They're evil. They're very evil. 22. With millions of dollars at their disposal every year from taxing our labor, the owners of U.S. Corp fund leftist nonprofit groups, including the Council on Foreign Relations, that work to subvert our nation and silence anyone in opposition. Been there, done that. The officials and administrators who run the largest charities and organizations, including the AMA, the APA, the CDC, the FCC, the SEC, and they embed operatives in the State Department, Department of Justice, intelligence agencies, official and covert, including the NSA, FBI, and CIA. So that's why, like, these whistleblowers from the NSA, FBI, and CIA, when they speak the truth, people go after them. They have to be like an attorney. They have to have some huge dirt on these people and they have to be like master strategists to stay alive, basically, when you go against the intel agencies. 23. So that last part, that's why Trump said, quit paying your taxes. Just don't pay your taxes anymore. It doesn't go to the United States. Nothing goes to the United States. Like they build roads, local tax. That's pretty much from state taxes. That all goes to other countries. We are slaves sending money to other countries that pretend to act poor. In trade, number 23, in trade for generous grants and endowments, the anonymous owners of the U.S. Corp shape the curriculum and political sentiment of the public schools, colleges, and universities, ensuring the next generations, our children, harbor disdain for their country, their history, their culture, their families, and even their ethnicity. Number 24, the anonymous owners of U.S. Corp keep the people, in all caps, in the dark about the true history of America, the greatest heist and cover-up in history by controlling public education, the major publishers, the news services, the airways, and the social and information networks. So, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, even Fox, they're all of it. Worked in it, saw it. Number 25, the foreign owners of U.S. Corp prop up puppets throughout society and government, allowing them to make millions of dollars in trade for perpetrating the agenda of secrecy and subjugation of America. These traders include prominent politicians, news readers. I like how they say news readers instead of journalists, because that's all they are. News readers. Nothing to do with journalists. Oh, fuck those people. Pundits, authors, movie stars, and the heads of social news and information networks, major sports teams, music and entertainment industries, the corporate conglomerates responsible for over 90% of the products designed, manufactured, advertised, purchased, financed, and consumed. 26. By the way of funding campaigns and fixing elections, the owners of U.S. Corporation obligate the most influential politicians to further their agenda of breaking America socially and financially. They promote disdain for country, dependency on the government, indulgence, lawlessness, and immorality, to spoil and dishearten citizens, predisposing them to trade their sovereignty for the false promises of an international, unelected government sponsored by the world elite. If you're just getting here, I'm reading the second Declaration of Independence signed by Donald Trump on July 4th, 2020. Journalist policy, okay. 28. They literally use the term targeted individuals here pretty soon. They know about us. We're in here. We're in here. The operatives of the foreign-owned U.S. Corp are deeply rooted throughout the news, information networks, academia, government. Did I already read this one? Government and society. I don't even know how to say that word. Colloquially referred to as the deep state. Colloquially referred to as the deep state, the shadow government, and the swamp. The operatives perform with a hive mind because hive mind. I could do an hour just on that. Perform with a hive mind because they are guilty of treason, a crime punishable by death. They are desperate to hide their complicity, and thus they systematically target, demonize, and even suicide all who threaten to expose their treachery and malfeasance. Oh, here we go. Number 29. The operatives of U.S. Corporation favor unbridled immigration because it is the most expedient way to destroy the country from within, flooding America with illegal immigrants without allowing them time to assimilate, ensures arrogance, separation, and anti-Americanism, and anger, animosity, and conflict with the people. By design, we can also expect a steady dilution of the principles, ethics, and systems that made America successful. Moreover, the majority of illegal immigrants are ethics and systems that made America successful. Moreover, the majority of illegal immigrants are likely to vote for Democrats who legislate according to the will of the foreign owners of the U.S. corporation. Number 30. Oh, number 30 says not able to reveal, not readable. That better not be the fucking one that says targeted individuals. In conjunction with skewed statistics, deceptive polls, false facts, and omission of decisive information, the owners of the U.S. Corp promote anti-American and their New World Order agenda. Fake news keeps the people disoriented, misinformation, and divided over ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, economic class. Meanwhile, their debt system enslaves us. Their grip even ever lightens through surveillance and fluorination. Vaccinations and other technologies are deployed to weaken any substantive opposition. Dude, I think number 30 was the one that says targeted individuals. They just took that out. Imagine that. The owners of the U.S. Corp are working incessantly to disarm millions of law-abiding patriots who stand in the way of their totalitarian, oppressive New World Order by the way of orchestrated mass shootings. Note, this is it. The owners of U.S. Corp will continue to terrorize the people until we assent to comprehensive background checks. The word comprehensive is nebulous to undefined, allowing for battery of psychological and medical testing, ever expanding until targeted individuals are deemed emotionally unstable and a danger to society. Hello, yeah, been there, done that. True to the predictions of every futuristic book and movie, patriotic Americans will be disarmed by the way of political profiling under the guise of screening for mental health. Every TI who has been through this needs to be indemnified for their pain and suffering, get a public apology, and never have to work again, and be able to have these people that did this to them dig ditches for them and serve them. No, not food. You don't want those people to bring you food. Anyway, 33, through their vast indoctrination machine, the foreign owners of U.S. Corp have convinced the people that America is a democracy and that democracy is the highest form of government. This is problematic because democracy is by definition mob rule. Democracies invariably fail because the majority mob always demands more and more public monies and services procured through excessive taxation and other socialist-like policies, resulting in economic ruin, runaway debt, fiscal collapse, and ultimately social implosion, opening the door for promised prediction, dreadful and ever-looming New World Order, because sovereignty is not sustainable without exploring the ills of democracy and reestablishing our evaluated constitutional republic. We are compelled to make the following proclamations. A, the word democracy does not appear anywhere in America's founding documents because the framers knew that democracy in any form or disguise is fatally flawed, leading invariably to oppression, unrest, societal failure, violence, and death. B, all modern forms of government are elected democratically. They differentiated only by who makes them decisions after elections are over. C, in a democracy, citizens in the majority make the sales, leaving those in minority oppressed. Consequently, a democracy is always noisy, divisive, divided, insufficient, unsteady, combustible, fiscally irresponsible, and short-lived. D, America was established as a constitutional republic. Those elected must not do the bidding of the citizen majority. Rather, they must do what is best for their district, despite the majority will. In this way, all citizens are represented equally and no one is suppressed, making a constitutional republic quiet, steady, efficient, and preferred. E, although the word democracy feels good, it is founded on mob rule, making it akin to socialism, communism, and every other tyrannical form of government. F, finally, Article QV, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution resolves any doubt. The United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union, republic, form of government. Okay, so having exposed the greatest heist and cover-up in history, we are able to summarize. America and its assets were quietly hijacked, and the cover-up resulted in the unthinkable crimes that the people and humanity against the people and humanity. Allowing the hostile takeover to stand will lead eventually to complete and irreversible subjugation and eradication of truth, justice, and all that is good. The Second Declaration of Independence distinguishes the United States of America. The Second Declaration of Independence distinguishes the United States of America from the subversive United States Corporation. It asserts that the U.S. corporation was formed illegally, that it is foreign-owned, and that its shareholders have been quietly at war with America for over 150 years. Treasonous operatives embedded within U.S. government and the fake news networks purposely divide the citizenry and facilitate conflict among the nations. To hide that U.S. Corp was formed illegally, that is foreign-owned, and its shareholders have been quietly at war with America for over 100 years. Treasonous operatives embedded within government and the fake news, did they just like put that in there twice just to fuck with me? Fake news networks purposely divided the citizenry and facilitate conflict among the natives to hide that U.S. corporation is and always has been the only real enemy of America. The Second Declaration of Independence also repudiates with conviction, U.S. corporations' satanically inspired plan for world governance. In addition to being of, by, for the elite and not the people, their falsely advertised pseudo-utopian, unelected totalitarian New World Order would supplant America's sovereignty and extinguish forever any semblance of liberty and prosperity. Get 'em, Willis. Because of the natural inclinations predispose human beings to be short-sighted, malleable, and easily bamboozled, one might presume the American people should bear responsibility for being swindled out of their homeland, inherited from their forefathers who procured and secured if at great expense and much sacrifice, and for slowly but steadily trading their largely unappreciated blessings of liberty, opportunity, and prosperity for trinkets in the form of unearned comforts, frivolous and gluttonous pleasures. However, the transfer of ownership from the American people was not conducted openly with candor, but planned throughout the calculated design and nefarious means without body consent and unconstitutionally. It is for latter reason that American people claim their right to rectification, that the greatest heist in history was effected outside the constraints of the U.S. Constitution, and those who were elected to represent America's best interests transgressed their fiduciary responsibility and exceeded their authority warrants this proclamation, that the American people are rightfully owners of our land, our labor, well-being, our future, and our children, for our benefit and the benefit of prosperity. As with any negotiated peace, after years of atrocities committed by parties at war, we seek neither vengeance nor demand justice for past transgressions. The simply adjure the return of what rightfully belongs to the people, and vow firmly, empathetically, publicly, and officially that the America shall forever remain a sovereign nation, free, self-directed, and not affiliated or dependent upon any version or variation of the present planned or innovated New World Order. Getting close. We entreat a bloodless solution wherein you cease all destruction activities, including false flag events, dissolve U.S. corporation and other illicit legal structures and custodial instruments, return our land and assets, including our gold and silver, redirect the tax collection on our labor back to America, and have your deep state and shadow government operatives retire, withdrawing your influence in an orderly fashion so society continues to thrive in trade for you keeping your wealth, your position, and your heads. So all of those, in response to questions regarding legitimacy, efficiency, yep, there's neighbors gathering out here, they want to hear this. in response to questions regarding legitimacy, efficiency, and process, throwing off the shackles of national thraldom is elementary and, unambiguous, as evidenced by separation of the 13 colonies from Britain 1776 and the Mexican people from Spain in 1825, a formal declaration hailed by authorized representatives, procedures, independence that is immediate, whole, consummate, infrangible, and unencumbered by obligation, condition, or imposition. As we enter grievous territory, we reflect on the precarious road our forefathers forged. They judiciously served the political and familial ties that bound them. Our hearts also filled with melancholy and trepidation. Yet we too are resolute in our posture and positions from being confronted with no better option. Despite the manifest peril, the consequences of acquiescence are graver still, compelling us to claim solemnly our independence once again. So, in support of this declaration, with its firm reliance on protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The 56 signatures of the task force are to be affixed at the time of presentation to Congress. The president of the 50 state legislators and governors of the respective states. That's like the greatest thing I've ever read in my life. Can you tell I liked it? All right, my phone's about to die here. I have to pee. Probably should have waited till tomorrow to read that. I'm glad I had my front door open so all my neighbors could hear that. I know they like to listen. I know the DHS likes to listen. But anyway. Oh, there's no way I can read all these comments. All right, well, if you guys want to wait a minute, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Whew. Lighting is not good in here. Sorry. Wow, lots of comments. All right. All right, I started off kind of sketchy on that, but I started making my way through it. We're finished now. We're not finished. We're just getting started. Reading through these. Sorry, I'm skipping a few. I'm going to end this live pretty soon, and call it a night. I'm going to read this again tomorrow. Gina Davies says, Lloyd, what do you mean by still being gang stalked? Do you think this crap actually stops? Yeah, no, it goes on every day. I've been through some crazy, uh, the things that I have survived through somehow. I don't even know. It's a good comment right there, Christina J. Or Krista J. Sorry, my eyes are terrible. Soros, the richest man in Ukraine, also. Not much longer. Yeah, Deborah, it says, thinking very soon, if not now, most people are being targeted, but they don't know, but they don't get it. Takes takes a while to figure out or believe the Twilight Zone is real. That's, yeah. It takes a while to figure it out, especially in the covert process. You know, unless you've already sold your soul, sold out, and you're just part of the matrix, you're just another brick in the wall. Then you already know what side you're on. You know exactly what you're doing, and it's not going to be good for you. Executive Order 13818 seizes the assets of everyone involved in this, and they're just going to instantly take away all of their assets, and those people will have to, if they live, will have to learn to be creative and be very resilient to survive, like we've had to do for our entire lives, or they just won't not make it. And I don't think any of us will have any empathy for them. You know, I have empathy for people, but for the people that have knowingly done this and just watched people die and stalked and harassed and give that little narcissistic smirk when they see us going through pain, never mind, I won't say what I was about to say. New Edge Design says, oh, this is now a Q opted channel. Goodbye. Yeah, peace out. Didn't say anything about Q at all. Yep, like the Hunger Games, yep. Executive Order 13.8 already expired and we cannot use it. No, it didn't. Nope. Yep. I'm going to bed. Guys, have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.